So good morning everyone. Today I am going to discuss the condition for the formation of coordinate bond. In the last video lecture I have discussed only the definition of coordinate bond. So now coordinate bond, the atom donating the electron pair is called donor. The atom donating the electron pair is called donor, while the atom accepting it is called acceptor. Okay. So the atom which donate the electron, that is called donor, which atom which accept the electron is called acceptor. The coordinate bond or dative bond is shown by arrow sign, and head of the arrow is towards the acceptor atom, that is A to B. A to B means here A is donor, B is acceptor. So head of the arrow towards the acceptor atoms. Okay. Now condition for the formation of coordinate bond. What are the conditions? Coordinate bond is formed between two dissimilar atoms like A and B. Coordinate bond is formed between two dissimilar atoms like A and B. Okay. Number 2, in between two atoms, that is A and B, one must have available shared pair electron for donations. That is the atom whose tendency to donate electron pair, that must have available shared pair electron so that it can donate. Another must have vacant orbital so that it can accommodate or accept the shared pair electron. Okay. So coordinate bond is formed between two dissimilar atoms like A and B. In between two atoms A and B, one must have available shared pair electrons for donations, and other must have vacant orbital accepting shared pair electrons. So what is the explanation of coordinate bond? In the formation of coordinate bond, the partial positive charge is developed. In the formation of coordinate bond, the partial positive charge is developed on donor atoms, say A, and equal partial negative charge is developed on the acceptor atom, say B. Thus, the coordinate bond should actually be represented as A delta plus bond B delta negative. So AB. So as you know, A gives protons, electron pairs towards the B atoms. That's why E possesses partial positive charge, electron deficiency, and B accepts that electron, that is partial negative charge. So due to development of partial charges, the coordinate bond becomes this bond becomes slightly polar. Again I tell you, in the formation of coordinate bond, partial positive charge is developed on donor atom, say A, and equal partial negative charge is developed on the acceptor atom, say B. Thus the coordinate bond should actually be represented as A delta plus bond B delta negative. Due to the development of partial charge, the coordinate bond becomes slightly polar and hence is called semi-polar or dative bond. That is formation of hydronium ion, ammonium ion, DF4 minus O3 molecules, etc. That is the example of coordinate bond. Now come to here how coordinate bond is formed. Here ammonia molecule, NH3 having a lone pair electron. Again the same, here it will be H plus. Okay, it will be H plus. Again the same thing. How is it possible? Okay, so sorry for interruption. So again, how will happen? Here nitrogen lone pair gives H plus X. This is the acceptor. This is the donor. Okay. Now what will happen? NH3 bond arrow towards the head of the arrow acceptor atom is the coordinate bond, or we can represent this bond for covalent bond in third bracket over H plus. Similarly, formation of BF4 minus ions, here F minus. Lone pair electron gives boron. Boron is a vacant p orbitals, so acceptor atoms. So this is the coordinate bond. Similarly, formation of hydronium ions. Okay, water lone pair gives H plus ions. So what will happen? So this is also coordinate bond, or you can write like this H3 plus. So this is the formation of coordination bond like ammonium ions, BF4 minus, H2 positive. Okay, so now characteristics of coordinate bond. Once coordinate bond is formed, it becomes identical to a covalent bond, and hence it is difficult to differentiate it from a covalent bond. Melting point and boiling point. Since coordinate bond is the union of one electrovalent and one covalent, the volatility of this compound lies between that of covalent and ionic compound. Thus, their melting point, boiling point are relatively higher than those of the covalent compounds, but lower than those of ionic compounds. So, in case of coordinate compounds, their melting point, boiling point higher than covalent compounds, but lower than ionic compounds. Next, move on. Electrical conductivity. Now, coordinate compounds do not dissociate into ions when dissolved in water or molten state, hence do not conduct electricity. Okay. Solubility. Coordinate compounds are soluble in organic solvent like carbon tetrachloride, benzene, tetrahydrofuranons, NHCNs, so many organic benzene, so many organic solvent, that is non-polar solvent and insoluble in water. So coordinate compounds are soluble in organic solvent and insoluble in water. Coordinate compounds undergo molecular reaction and show isomerism. Coordinate bond is rigid and has directional properties, that is, it has definite shape like linear, planar, etc. These compounds exist as a gaseous and liquid. So these are the characteristics, or you can say properties of coordinate compounds. So why it is called rigid bond, I have already discussed. So electrical conductivity, solubility, coordination compound undergo chemical reactions, so isomerisms. So bond is rigid and has directional property. It also has a shape, linear, planar, TBP, tetrahedral, etc. And these compounds also exist gases and liquids. Okay. Now I have discussed three types of bonds: covalent bonds, ionic bonds, coordinate bonds, and their conditions with their examples and also their properties. Okay. Now we are talking about octet rule. Cause of formation of chemical bond, cause of chemical bond, lowering of energy, and octet rule and doublet rule. Now come to the point, what is the limitation of octet rules? Okay, so limitation of the octet rules, drawbacks. The octet rule, though useful, is not universal. It is quite useful for understanding the structure of most of the organic compounds, and it applies mainly to the second period elements of the periodic table. There are three types of exception to the octet rules. So we get three types of limitations or exception of the octet rules. Okay. First one, the incomplete octet of the central atom. The incomplete octet of the central atom. In some compounds, the number of electrons surrounding the central atom is less than 8. In some compounds, the number of electrons surrounding the central atom is less than 8. This is especially the case with elements having less than 4 valence electrons. Okay, so in some compounds, the number of electrons surrounding the central atom is less than 8. This is especially the case with element having less than 4 valence electron. Example: lithium chloride, BH2, BCl3. Okay, lithium, beryllium, boron have 1, 2, 3 valence electrons only. Some other such compounds are AlCl3, BF3. Okay, so lithium chloride, Al6 have 2 electrons, 8 electrons, 4 electrons for beryllium. Okay, BCl3, 2, 4, 6. Okay, so in this case, This is the electrons less than 8 electrons. Okay, so less than 8 electron system. So this is the examples of less than 8 electrons. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4 and 2. Okay, so incomplete octet of the central atom. So first exceptional case, the incomplete octet of the central atom. Number 2, odd electron molecule. Odd electron molecules, in molecules with an odd number of electrons like nitric oxide NO and nitrogen dioxide NO2, the octet group is not satisfied for all the atoms. Okay, for all the atoms. It should be okay. So like NO and 2, okay, 2, 4, 6, 7, okay, 2, 4, 6, okay. So odd electron, this is the odd electrons. 2, 4, 6, 7, odd electrons, 2, 4, 6, 7, odd electrons. So odd electron molecules, it fails to expand. Number 3, the expanded octet. Expanded octet. So expanded octet, the examples shown in the next slides. Element in and beyond the third period of the periodic table have, apart from 3s and 3p orbitals, 3d orbitals also available for bonding. 3d orbitals also available for bonding. Again here, okay. In a number of compounds of these elements, there are more than 8 valence electrons around the central atom. This is termed as expanded octet. So what we have seen that less than 8 electron, incomplete octet of the central atom, or expanded octet, more than 8 electrons, and odd electron system. So there are 3 types of exceptional case. So expanded octet means here the electron present more than 8 electrons, here presents NO2 NO, odd electrons, here less than 8 electrons. Now come to expanded octet. What will happen? Some of the examples of such compounds are PF5, SF6, H2SO4, and number of coordination bonds. You say PF5, what will happen? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay. One bond means 2 electrons. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 5, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 electrons. Here 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 electrons. Here 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14. So in this case, 10 electrons for 12 electrons and 12 electrons are in the sulfur atom. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 4, 4, 8, 10, 12. Sorry, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So this is the 12 electron around the sulfur atom, 12 electron around the sulfur atom, and 10 electron around the phosphorus atom. So all this case, here the electron present more than 8, that is more than octet. Okay, so expanded octet. Okay, it is clear that the octet rule is based upon the chemical inertness of noble gases. However, some noble gases, for example like xenon and krypton, also combine with oxygen and fluorine to form a number of compounds like HCF2, KrF2, HCF2. Okay. Number 5, this theory doesn't account for the shape of the molecule. Number 6, it does not explain the relative stability of the molecules. Okay. So it does not explain the relative stability of the molecules. Okay. Being totally silent about the energy of the molecules. So 3 exceptional we have already discussed: odd electron system, expanded octet, and incomplete octet. And also some chemical internets of the noble gas. However, some noble gases also react to form compounds HCF2, KrF2, HCF2, and this theory doesn't account for the shape of the molecules, and it doesn't explain the relative stability of the molecules, being totally silent about the energy of the molecules. So these are the drawbacks, or you can say limitation of the octet rule. Now come to the difference between crystalline and amorphous solids. Okay. So what is the amorphous and crystalline? Crystalline solid means the atoms, molecules, ions, constant particles are arranged orderly in three-dimensional space. So in three-dimensional space, crystalline solids you see orderly arranged. Okay. So amorphous solid means constituting the particles, atoms, ions, molecules are not arranged orderly in three-dimensional space. You see, are not arranged orderly. So there is a order. There is a very fine order. So atoms, molecules, ions are arranged orderly in three-dimensional space. But here atoms, molecules, ions are not arranged properly or orderly. So that is the amorphous solids. Next slide we will see the picture of the crystalline solids, amorphous solids. So now what is the basic difference between crystalline solids and amorphous solids? Long range orderly arrangement of constituent. Long range orderly arrangement of constituent. Short range random arrangement of constituent. Random. That is, atom, molecules, ions are not arranged orderly. Definite shape crystalline solids. Obviously, definite shape, irregular shape. You see how fine structure, how irregular shape. Generally, crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. They are isotropic like liquids. Okay. They are true solids. They are considered as pseudo solids or supercooled liquids. Definite heat of fusions. Heat of fusion is not definite. They have sharp melting points, gradually soften over a range of temperature and so can be molded. Example, NaCl, diamond, etc. crystalline solids. Here example, rubbers, plastic, glass, etc. So these are the example of amorphous solids. So this is the basic difference between the crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Okay. Okay. Now, crystalline solids, amorphous solids. Okay. So basic difference is the orderly arranged, not orderly arranged, randomly arranged. They are true solids. They are considered as pseudo solids. Definite heat of fusion. Heat of fusion is not definite. They have sharp melting point. They have over a range of temperature. NaCl, diamonds, here rubber, plastic, glass, etc. These are the amorphous solids. Here the same crystalline solid. Okay, orderly arranged, irregularly arranged. Now come to the example of crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Here crystalline solid, you see how orderly arranged the atom molecules of ions. Orderly arranged, very nice arrangement in a three-dimensional space. Example, table saw. Okay, example, table saw, NaCl. Amorphous solid, you see, randomly, are not orderly arranged. Here, randomly. Okay, this is the example, cotton candy. Example. Okay, so this is the example of crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Okay. Now, the types of solids, you know, there are 4 types of solids. We have already discussed the bond, ionic bond, covalent bond, and also coordinate bond, etc. Now, types of solids, ionic solids, molecular solids, covalent solids, or network or metallics. Okay. Intermolecular forces present, ion forces. Properties, brittle, hard, high melting. Already I have discussed. Example, NaCl, KBr, MgCl2 during the discussion of ionic compounds. So ionic solids, so ion force. That is, ion force means strong electrostatic force of attraction. Strong electrostatic force of attractions present in ionic compounds. So their properties, brittle, hard, high melting point. Example, NaCl, KBr, magnesium chloride. Molecular solids, dispersion force, London force. Okay, dipole-dipole force, hydrogen bonding, this type of intermolecular forces present in the molecular solids. Properties: soft, low melting point, non-conducting. Example: water, Br2, CO2, CH4. Now covalent solids or networks. Covalent bonds, hard, high melting point. As per example, carbon present in the diamond and graphite. Okay, graphite is a good conductor, presence of 3 electron. Okay, SiO2. So these are the covalent network. Metallic bonds, variable hardness and melting point and conducting. Sodium, zinc, copper, iron. So these are the types of solids: ionic solids, molecular solids, covalent solids, and metallic solids. Their intermolecular forces, their properties, and with their examples. Okay, so I have discussed the 4 types of solids: ionic solids, molecular solids, covalent solids, and metallic solids, along with the intermolecular force, what type of forces present, and what is the main properties of that solids and examples. Okay. Now come to the ionic solids like NaCl, crystal structure of sodium chloride. In the next slide, the 3-dimensional crystal structure has been shown. So crystal structure of sodium chloride, which is called as a rock salt. Not only table salt, it is also rock salt. In ionic solids, the sum of the electron gain enthalpy and ionization enthalpy. Electron gain enthalpy nothing but electron affinity, and ionization enthalpy means ionization energy, pull of the electron from a valence shell, from a gaseous atom. How much energy required? Electron gain enthalpy, how much energy liberated during the acceptance or receiving an electron of a gaseous atom in its valence shell. So the sum of the electron gain enthalpy and the ionization enthalpy may be positive, but still the crystal structure gets stabilized due to the energy released in the formation of crystal lattice. Okay, in the formation of crystal lattice. For example, the ionization enthalpy for Na+, formation from Na, okay, from sodium to Na+, during the loss of 1 electron, that is ionization energy 495.8 kJ per mole, while the electron gain enthalpy, that is electron affinity, for the change chlorine to Cl minus, that is Cl accepts that electrons which is lost by the sodium ions. So electron gain enthalpy minus 348.7 kJ per mole only. So sum of the two, 1.47.1 kJ mole inverse is more than the corresponding for by an enthalpy of lattice formation of NaCl. So the sum of the two, 348 and 495, sum of the two, 147.1 kJ per mole is more than corresponding by the enthalpy of lattice formation of NaCl, that is minus 788 kJ per mole. So the energy released in the process is more than the energy absorbed. So energy released in the process is more than the energy absorbed. Thus, qualitative measure of the stability of an ionic compound is provided by its enthalpy of lattice formation. So thus a qualitative measure of stability of an ionic compound is provided by its enthalpy of lattice formations and not simply by achieving octet of electrons around the ionic species in gaseous state. We are talking about the definition during the discussion to attain the nearest noble gas configuration, octet. This is also point, but here also enthalpy of lattice. This is also very important. Okay, next move on. So this is the structure of rock salt NaCl chemical structures. So three-dimensional structures. So this one chlorine, the large size. This is the Cl. Okay, blue is chlorine, and this one is sodium. Okay. So 1 unit cell. So this is the chemical structure, rock salt structure NaCl. Okay. Now come to diamond and graphite. This is very important. Its difference. Okay. And also the structure. It has a crystalline lattice, diamond. It has a crystalline lattice. Okay. It has a layer structure. In diamond, each carbon atom is sp3 hybridized and is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms through a sigma bond. So in diamond, each carbon atom is sp3 hybridized and is bonded to 4 other carbon atoms through a sigma bond. In graphite, each carbon atom is sp2 hybridized and is bonded to 3 other carbon atoms through a sigma bond. The fourth electron forms a pi bond. Okay. So it is made up of tetrahedral units. It is a planar geometry. The carbon-carbon bond length in diamond is 154 picometer and CC bond length is graphite 141.5 picometer. It has a rigid covalent bond network which is difficult to break in case of diamond. In case of graphite, it is quite soft and its layer can be separated easily. It acts as an electrical insulator. Diamond, it is a good conductor of electricity due to the presence of free electrons. Diamond is transparent. Graphite is black and opaque. Diamond is hardest substance in nature. It is soft and slippery to touch. Diamond is ultimate abrasive. It is a good lubricant. So graphite is a good lubricant and diamond is the ultimate abrasive. So these are the basic difference of diamond and graphite. So again I tell you, it has a crystalline lattice, it has a layer structure. In diamond, each carbon atom is sp3 hybridized, here sp2 hybridized and is bonded 3 other carbon atoms through a sigma bonds. It is made of tetrahedral units, it is a planar geometry. CC bond length in diamond 154 picometer, CC bond length in graphite 141.5 picometer. It has rigid covalent network which is difficult to break. It is quite soft and layers can be separated easily. It acts as an electrical insulator. It acts as a good conductor of electricity. Diamond is transparent. All of you have seen the diamond. Graphite is black and opaque. Diamond is hardest substance in nature. It is soft and slippery to touch. Diamond is ultimate abrasive. It is a good lubricant. Okay. Now come to properties and uses of carbon, silicon, germanium. So carbon, silicon, germanium is a chemical element with atomic number 6, 14, 32 and it is a group of 14, member of group 14 of the periodic table having valence electronic configuration NH2NP2. So all the positive valence electron NH2NP2, they can form 4 covalent bonds. Okay. Now come to silicon. Properties of silicon. Silicon is metalloids because it has both metal and non-metal properties. It is a hard and inert metalloid solids. Okay. Silicon is metalloid because it both metalloids and non-metals properties. It is a hard and inert metalloid solid. The melting point of this chemical element is 1414 degrees centigrade. That is 1440 degrees centigrade melting point. And the boiling point is 3265 degrees centigrade. Can you imagine? The boiling point of silicon is 3265 degrees centigrade. Okay. So at this temperature it can boil. So due to the presence of high boiling point. Silicon in crystal form is very brittle. Silicon is crystal form is very brittle. It exists very rarely as pure silicon in nature. So it exists very rarely as a pure silicon in nature. Mainly it occurs as the oxide or silicates. Actually silicon we get the silicon in the form of oxide or silicates. It doesn't exist or very rarely exist in the pure silicon form. It is always associated with oxides or silicates. Okay. So in this way we can get the silicon. So silicon is a metalloids being a p block elements. It has valence electronic configuration NH2NP2 since it is the member of carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, lead. Okay. It is a 14 atomic number. So its boiling point is quite high, 3265 degrees centigrade. and melting point 1414 degrees centigrade. Next, move on the slide. Since the silicon is protected with an outer oxide layer, it is less susceptible to chemical reactions. Also, this element requires high temperature for its oxidations. In contrast, silicon reacts with fluorine at room temperature. Furthermore, silicon doesn't react with acids but reacts with concentrated alkalis. So, since the silicon is protected with an outer oxide layer, it is less susceptible to chemical reactions. Also, this element requires high temperature for its oxidations. In contrast, silicon reacts with fluorine at room temperature. Furthermore, silicon doesn't react with acids but reacts with concentrated alkalis. Now come to uses. These are lots of industrial use of silicon. You know, chips, computer chips, silicon, germanium. Okay, one of the most important famous Intel. So these are the lots of industrial use of silicon. Silicon is a semiconductor. Therefore, used in computers and electronic devices. There are many use of silicon compounds like silica or silicates in ceramics, glass, and cement industry. So that is the use of silicon. There are lots of industrial use of silicon. Silicon is a semiconductor. Therefore, the computers and electronic devices. Now, properties of germanium. The scientist Clemens Winkler found germanium in 1886. Germanium is a metalloid having a crystal structure similar to that of diamond. It is hard, brittle, has a grey-white color. The melting point of germanium around 937 degrees centigrade, and the boiling point is quite high, 2830 degrees centigrade, 2830 degrees centigrade. So we can find germanium naturally in the earth crust. It is present in minerals like biotite, germanite, and egriodite also. It has 5 naturally occurring isotopes as well. However, germanium is the most common isotope which has 36% abundance. Furthermore, this element is chemically and physically similar to silicon. Germanium is stable in the air and water. Also, it doesn't react with dilute acid and alkali solutions. Okay. Use like silicon, germanium is used as a semiconductor. Materials in type P-type semiconductor is pure crystal of silicon doping, or by adding heating intrinsic semiconductor. By adding doping substance, you get extrinsic semiconductor N type, P type. So silicon, germanium used as a semiconductor material in transistor and also other electronic device. Moreover, germanium commonly has 4 plus 2 plus oxidation state. That is, germanium commonly has both plus 4 and plus 2 oxidation state, but most commonly occurs in plus 4 state. When you expose this element to air, it slowly converts to the dioxide from GU2. So this is the properties of germanium and uses of germanium. Okay, now property and uses of carbon. Boiling point is 4800 to 7 degrees centigrade. Melting point 3373. Okay, 3500. Crystal structure hexagonal, density 293, 2.62 gram per centimeter cube. Color may be black. Okay, these are the properties of carbon. Uses for rust protections, for lubrications, for removing taste and odor, for melting metals, and moderator slowing neutrons for atomic fissions. So, uses for rust protections, for lubrications, for removing taste and odor, for melting metals, and a moderator for slowing neutron for atomic fission. So, these are the use of carbons. And these are the properties: boiling point 4800 to 7 and melting point 3500 degrees centigrade, and density 2.62 gram per centimeter cube. Color may be black. So, and use very important: rust protections, lubrication or lubricating agents, for removing taste and odor, for melting materials, and also moderator for slowing neutrons for atomic fissions. So I have discussed the properties and uses of both carbon, silicon and germanium. So I hope you are enjoying this video. Thanks for watching this video.